Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, Jesse Disbro, and with me is the Mark, Matt Cooper.
Hello, everybody.
And today, I will be performing the role of the Smark, and luckily, we are recording this podcast in an empty arena, so you don't have to worry about any sort of accidental exposure.
Yes, we are social distancing as we normally do anyway.
Yes.
So.
In fact, we actually our normal listenership wouldn't qualify for many of the bands anyway. So, thank you to all of you loyal listeners out there. Tell your friends. In fact, tell them now, because what else are they gonna do? Watch WWE and AEW perform in empty arenas? Come on now, fill the void with our podcast.
Funny you should say that.
Yes.
Okay, you're supposed to take the rest of that. I'm sorry, I didn't plan that.
Funny you should say that. I thought there was a more specific reference you were going to make, rather than the fact that yes, AEW and WWE did some empty arena shows. Yes.
Yes, I thought you were going to pick that up. I bungled that transition. Oops.
Yeah, well, just blame it on coronavirus. It's fine.
Well, I guess that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get...
Yeah, so as Matt was about to butt, and before we get to... we're going to do our normal show, though. Since we don't have to worry about fans in attendance, we can do everything normally, such as give you the Marking Out segment, which is hosted by Matt and will be shortly after I finish talking here. The Smarks Remarks segment, which will bring up all of the big things that happened this week. And then also, we'll have the big meaty topics, which will be mostly about how the world has changed in the past week, and then we'll clean up with the hot take, and then the finishing move. So Matt, go ahead and take us off and kick off the show here.
So the first segment is Marking Out. It's where I, the Mark, pick one thing out of all of wrestling that happened in the last week, and I mark out about it. This week, I'm quote-unquote marking out about the fact that the WWE was able to put on an entertaining show at the Performance Center. They, like many things across the nation, they've canceled all their live events because of the spread of the coronavirus, aka COVID-19. So, you can't be in an empty arena, right? I mean, everybody remembers that Mankind and Rock empty arena match, which is kind of surreal, fell a little flat. Also, it's cheaper to go to the Performance Center, so they went and they did it at the Performance Center. A lot of people weren't sure how it was going to happen. A lot of people were worried that, they're going to pipe in sounds and have a pretend crowd or whatever, so we know how we're supposed to react. But it's not what they did. And I saw particular praise on Reddit for Triple H's turn as a commentator during the night. So I'm impressed. I thought the WWE was going to have kind of a awkward, weird show, but it seems like they pulled it off with extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think we've always, or at least I've always praised the WWE for. When things go wrong or things go completely different than they expect it to go, they've always been very good about, adjusting and, and working something well.
And generally in this quote-unquote business, you got to be able to do that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, things are not always going to go right. It's show business, Thankfully, unlike, for example, Broadway or maybe even the NBA or other major sports, the WWE is at kind of an intersection of those two things. So it can put a show on, a televised show, and still have viewers. And I was talking to my mother about this, actually. But in the absence of sports, including the XFL right now, where are people going to turn? Maybe this might be a boon for professional wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we'll probably talk a little bit about when we roll into the big meaty topics area. Because I did have a couple of things to mention about that and about,
By the way, I want to preface all that and all the other comments we make with, an air of gravitas for the seriousness of the situation. Mm-hmm. This is a national emergency. It's sort of since the Spanish flu, this is unprecedented in modern times. So
the speed at which this is and the ease of communication of the virus is what makes this something to be. Maybe not everyone needs to worry about it, but everyone needs to be conscious and cognizant about how they go about their lives.
So though we may seem glib or flippant or haha, sort of snarky in our comments, understand it's more of gallows humor.
Yes.
We're not trying to downplay the situation.
Right. We want to use the gallows humor and not the Anderson humor this week.
Yes. Very good. So now that disclaimer has been said and all of the angry people in the comments have realized, oh, okay, and they're leaving.
Lol, yep. Yeah. So here's the point. We'll go ahead and I'll hit the Smarks remarks here. There was a pay-per-view. Yeah.
Glossed right over that, didn't we? Elimination Chamber.
Yes, there was Elimination Chamber, and essentially everything that you expected to have happened. One of the things I wanted to have happened, so that was nice.
Which was?
The trio win the Intercontinental Championship.
True, although I think they stuck it on Sami Zayn.
It might be there. Yeah, they didn't. Okay. They didn't really mention it or defend it or wrestle about it on Monday, the Monday after. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have to figure out what exactly that means. Sami Zayn earned the pinfall, so he earns the title, which is a simple explanation.
Lots of Sami Zayn fans were happy on Reddit.
Yeah, I mean, Sami Zayn has he's struggled for a long while, and he is deserving of a title. So, I mean, that's nice. But yeah, the Monday Night's Raw was the last Raw in front of people, last event in front of people. And, Elimination Chamber was what it was. You actually saw it. I wasn't able to view it.
I thought it was fine. Mm-hmm. The quibbles I had was that, and this is probably the thing most people complained about, is that the main event was not really main event-y.
No, it was a foregone conclusion, and hooray, it happened.
Well, I mean, it was a foregone conclusion, but even then, there were long moments of pauses in the action, and pretty much everybody that came out of the chamber got eaten alive by Shayna Baszler more or less immediately, with the exception of kind of Liv Morgan and the exception of Asuka. But, there were these long pauses between when they would let people out of the chamber, where Shayna Baszler was just kind of walking around, and Asuka was screaming obscenities in Japanese, which was, kind of entertaining. But the action lulled, and then somebody would come out and they immediately get choked out, and we're like, oh, fine, whatever. I mean, yeah, most of the people in that match were cannon fodder for Shayna Baszler, as much as I love the Riot Squad, But it shouldn't have been the main event, maybe.
So here's the thing. If they hadn't just done something very similar at the Royal Rumble, this might have gone over a little better. But this was essentially Brock Lesnar's Royal Rumble start, but with less high profile people that were fed to Shayna Baszler, and in a match setup where she actually had to beat each of them.
Yeah, because you knew Brock Lesnar was going to get eliminated from the Rumble, and as it went on, the story developed there. But here we only had 5 competitors. They'd come out and die, and it's okay. I mean, I get it. I understand why it wasn't so great, and I'm not saying that wasn't what was going to happen, but it might have been better put somewhere else in the show as opposed to the main event. So, but all the other matches were fine. I've forgotten almost all of them. Yeah, Undertaker did come out, so
yeah, they were mostly forgettable. That's why the pay-per-view is what it is. I mean, it's basically this one was essentially booked to be a bigger Raw, because there was no top titles on the line. The 2 mid-card titles got defended, but besides the Sami Zayn, which was fun and interesting, there was nothing really that happened.
I kind of liked the tag match. I wasn't really happy that Otis didn't get to stomp Dolph Ziggler as much, but it was still good heel work. So
yeah, it worked out all right. Yeah. And the people had some really good things to say about the Daniel Bryan Drew Gulak match.
I missed that one.
That was the very first match, and Drew Gulak actually they had him pass out in the yes lock instead of tapping out, which always makes you look good.
A la Stone Cold Steve Austin in the figure four. Well, that was kind of a legendary moment.
A la all in the sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Did I say figure? Ooh,
yes.
Ooh, big mistake there.
But
somewhere in Canada.
But absolutely, someone has
Jimmy's
done. Yeah. Absolutely, someone has passed out in the figure four leg lock rather than tap to it. So I mean,
what?
It's happened a lot. But
hot take here.
Yep.
I think the figure four leg lock looks a lot cooler than not the figure four. I think the sharpshooter looks a lot cooler than the figure four leg lock.
Yeah.
I mean, the figure four leg lock fucking hurts
both
if you really do it.
Yes, both of them actually do if you really do it. But
I convinced my cousin to let me put him in the figure four leg lock once, and I almost broke his shin, and he was screaming, and I was like, "Oh crap!" That's when I learned my lesson about wrestling holds.
That's when the "don't do this at home" became very real.
Yes. They used to tell us. They didn't tell us not to do it at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, then you almost broke your brother, cousin. What did you just say? Yeah, their shin, and then Vince McMahon heard about it and said nope.
Yep, it's all my fault, guys. Sorry.
Yep, it's all your fault. That's why you can't wrestle at home now. So yeah, and then Raw was just kind of mostly setting the table for WrestleMania. Again, like we mentioned, Raw was the pre-coronavirus. Remember when I said that the gimmick is dead, the Eric Rowan gimmick is dead, and you're like, what, did they kill whatever was ever in the cage?
Yeah.
Oh, they killed whatever was ever in the cage this week.
Oh, well, okay. That spider didn't deserve it, but...
No. But,
an innocent creature.
Yes, Drew McIntyre showed how serious he was he would go to any length to defeat Brock Lesnar by smashing Eric Rowan's spider.
I mean, that bit deserved to die.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Eric Rowan should have just lost the spider, and then you had the locker room all running out, and then the end.
Yeah, and then Drew McIntyre could have squashed it to save the locker room, and
no, he doesn't have to squash the spider.
Yes,
the spider was innocent.
The spider needed to be squashed. Otherwise, what, it would be a running bit where the spider accidentally climbs into one of the cases and follows everybody? No,
come
on.
Well, I mean, sure,
I want
why
my
not?
storylines to resolve, damn it! And if it has to resolve because someone is being squished,
and drag it out from under the ring occasionally, and just have wrestlers go, "Oh my God, there's Eric Rowan's spider."
You might as well just do that with Eric Rowan now. Attach him to a string and drag him out from underneath the ring every now and again.
I mean, I don't want an innocent spider to die. Spiders are maligned in society, but also, how else are you going to get out of this stupid bit?
They squished it. It's done. It's over.
Squished.
Oh,
well. Rest in peace, innocent spider.
Yep, rest in pepperonis.
What?
That's what the internet has started to appropriate rest in peace for. Generally, when referring to you dying in a video game.
Oh, as opposed to press F for
yes, F's in chats, please. No, rest in pepperonis. That's what.
Well, I'll have
R.I.P. means.
Know that we used to ask for pepperoni and cheese on our tombstone.
Yes, good old tombstone pizzas.
Yep. Type that in whenever you died in Oregon Trail. It's here lies pepperoni and cheese, because you don't have enough space for...
waka waka waka. And Edge is back.
Oh, good. I knew he was coming back.
He murdered MVP. And,
that's kind of a juxtaposition of how much people cared about Edge coming back versus how much people cared about MVP coming back.
Right.
Yeah. It's MVP, you're on.
He did. He dead now.
He can come back to San Antone.
And I think maybe the most interesting thing is we might be angling Aleister Black against Seth Rollins. That might be the most interesting thing that happened on Raw.
I had already booked Aleister Black and The Undertaker to take on
Nope.
The club at
No.
WrestleMania.
No, we're not gonna get that. It looked like we might, but we're not gonna get it.
Okay.
And then so after that we had so NXT technically still went on with a full crowd.
At Full Sail before Full Sail said everybody get out of here.
Yeah, I think unless it's here in the they might have actually done it in the Performance Center.
Okay, because Full Sail University did, like many universities across the nation, shut its doors and say everybody get out. So.
Pretty much all of them extended their spring breaks.
Yeah.
So and they'll kind of figure it out when they get there. But there was a real crowd at the NXT. So if it might have been in the Performance Center, but there was, an actual crowd, possibly more than, 1,000 people there.
It was probably before the NBA came out and said, yeah, season's over, and all the other sports were like, shit, fuck.
I think it was the same day. They just didn't have the...
Well, there's no time between then and that to, shut your doors.
There was... So we'll talk about this in a little bit. But WWE held off on a lot of this for a while. So all the things were basically closed down by Thursday. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't heard anything from WWE on the XFL or wrestling until basically during the day on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, there's always people that sort of react slow or drag their feet in situations like this, especially if they've got a lot of money invested in it. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Basically, the big takeaways from NXT was that Tegan Nox qualified for the number one contender ladder match.
Number one contender laddership for the match.
The laddership. The ladder, yes.
So she's going to be the ladder.
The championship ladder match.
Is Tegan Nox tall enough to be a ladder?
No. Like most wrestling women, she is not.
Okay, she's kind of runty.
Most wrestling women are like below 6 foot.
Okay. As a 5'4" man, I was like, when I said runty, I was thinking like Scarlett Johansson runty. She's like 5'2".
No. So. Well, you can't be a ladder. You're not qualified to be a ladder.
I get it.
You have to be like 7 foot tall in order to be a ladder, to qualify as a ladder.
Well, there aren't many 7 foot tall wrestling men either. So
no, that's correct. That's why I said, like most wrestling women, she's not tall enough to be the ladder. Anyway, good
for Tegan Nox. Yeah.
Yeah, good for Tegan Nox. That's basically it. Everything else is just people moving forward towards that. Oh, and Mia Yim defeated Dakota Kai for a spot in that ladder match. So it looks like Dakota Kai is out of the ladder match for now.
Bummer.
Yeah. Is what it is. Yeah. And now we move on to the... I think AEW performed in front of a live crowd on Wednesday. They will not perform in front of a full arena next week. That will not happen.
I was wondering what AEW was going to do, because the WWE has a performance center it can retreat to, more or less. What does AEW got?
AEW will go back to the general area that they work out of, and they're working on rescheduling what they're going to do with the Blood and Guts, their pay-per-view-ish thing on March 25.
That sounds like a particularly contagious event.
Yeah, so we'll find out what happens there.
Like, welcome to Blood and Guts. Would you like blood or guts?
Cake? Is there a cake option? I'll take the cake option.
Cake or death. With apologies to the comedian that does that. Shit. Yes. If I'm going to rip somebody off, I'd at least know who it is.
It doesn't matter. It's Eddie Izzard.
There we go. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just looking through all the matches, and it was essentially the AEW was essentially the same Same kind of idea. What's this Death Triangle? Who's Death Triangle?
Don't get me started.
It's a new team, and they went over on Private Party and Joey Janela in
I heard that
a good match.
on AEW, Jake the Snake just kind of strolled out with his client. It was like no music, no reveal, no nothing. It was just like, yeah, here we are. People on Reddit were complaining about anti-climax.
Yep.
Sorry, dudes. I'm a little disappointed too, but
Well, it's just that it's one of those things where AEW just doesn't quite have their finger on all of the storytelling yet.
Yeah, well. Jake's around. He'll fix everything.
That's it. They'll figure it out eventually.
Okay.
Did you see who it was? I didn't really actually care anything.
Even funnier? No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I just saw that it was noted on Reddit that he just kind of strolled out, and I saw a gif of him strolling out with a gentleman I did not recognize. And I was like, oh. Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Twitter blow up about it, so I'm not sure if it matters.
Yeah. As they say, oh, well, what the hell.
Anyway, yeah, so that's that. Do.
And then SmackDown was fine.
Yeah, SmackDown was fine. We
fun,
talked
entertaining.
about that. They booked John Cena to come out. Page apparently was booked to come out. But instead, Lexi Bliss and Nikki Cross came out to fight Sasha Banks and Bayley.
Oh, Sasha Banks.
Yeah, Sasha Banks is coming back.
Yeah, I'm glad that complaining on Twitter works for her again.
Yeah, well, tis what tis.
And the squeaky wheel gets the matches?
Yes, that's always how it works.
Unless it's wrestling and you piss Vince McMahon off. Then the squeaky wheel gets buried.
I really liked Cesaro's quote from
yes.
from them.
If you told me that I would be wrestling Daniel Bryant in the WWE, in front of nobody, I would have said you're probably right. But if you'd said if it was in the WWE, I'd be like, what?
Yeah. Yes. That's pretty much what he said. You did it in such a great way that I lost all interest in it. So thank you.
That's why Cesaro makes the big bucks, and I am on a podcast.
He speaks like 7 languages.
I'm not fucking knocking Cesaro, dude. He speaks more languages and lifts more pounds than I ever could. The man.
But it was a good bit, and I really kind of liked it, and we'll see how it goes from there. Jeff Hardy was also in action. He's back. Matt Hardy let his contract expire.
Okay. Have we forgiven Jeff Hardy for driving drunk again?
Yes.
Okay.
He's back on TV, so of course. And he beat Baron Corbin, so yeah.
God damn. Okay.
And I guess they didn't have a production package available, so Bray Wyatt came and chatted with John Cena.
Bray Wyatt just strolled out.
Yeah, pretty much.
They didn't have the Firefly Funhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I heard people praising that interaction on Reddit. I guess these two gentlemen know how to talk.
They do. John Cena, whatever you think about him, he knows how to talk. He knows how to work an audience, even though there was no audience there. And they have always allowed him the final word in all of these things. Mm-hmm. But that's because his final word is usually pretty good.
And what's interesting is somebody said that the silence of the Performance Center seemed to punctuate and add some more story beats and drama to that interaction than you might get in a crowded arena.
Right. Because
you don't have people shouting what in the background or
which is what's going to happen when 316 Day comes around on Monday. And Stone Cold comes out, and there'll be no huge pop for Stone Cold coming out, and people won't be saying what after everything he says.
Which will be nice.
It will be nice.
As much as I love Stone Cold, and as much as I love hearing that glass break and hearing the crowd pop, one of the worst things he ever did was create that "what" chant.
So let's go ahead and move into this this next bit here. I just want to make a quick note that there was only one match on 205 Live, and that was John Cena got to watch whatever wrestling was on 205 Live. That was the story.
Yeah.
No, the story is that NXT, there's kind of a divide between the 205 Live originals and the NXT people who have kind of smashed into 205 Live since the Cruiserweight division was taken over by NXT. So there's kind of this division between those two sides, and I'm actually... That's exactly the kind of storyline that 205 Live needs to be relevant.
Wonderful.
Yep, so let's talk about how things are going to go on from here. For at least the next 2 weeks, which is the general incubation period, the longest of the incubation period for the coronavirus, we're going to see a lot of stuff that's empty arena or canceled. And are we going to find out that WWE is actually better without fans there?
That would be funny.
It would be, but it actually wouldn't surprise me. Because you know the number of times that we've bitched about fan reactions and we've bitched about how people perform, how the fans perform at these?
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously without the big pops and everything, but the fans have become so smarky that there's not really big pops left anymore. And it's mostly just people, burying other people or being cheering super smart things or playing with a beach ball or whatever. So, I'm interested to see how it goes. And
that'd be funny if the Smarks, instead of being in the crowd shouting what, were relegated to Twitter shouting what. Mm-hmm. They're far more easier to tune out on Twitter.
They absolutely are.
So I don't know.
know. We'll have to see how it goes. I just wanted to put that out there before.
That's going to be a matter of taste.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you typically like to enjoy wrestling with your opera glasses on. So
no, I like to enjoy wrestling when there's fun and correct interactions with the fans.
You mean people aren't being assholes?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Or shitting on stuff because it's not what they want to see this exact moment. Rather than living in the moment and enjoying the match that's in front of them.
Yeah, no, the opera glasses was me making fun of you not liking the wave.
That's fair.
But that's a different thing.
I'll take some digs for that. That's fine.
I'm with you there. Yeah, the fans being jerks can really put a damper on everything, and it has to be discouraging to the performers. But the WWE makes money from live shows. You're going to go back to that. So.
Oh, of course. Yeah. They're going to have to. But it can be done, and if you were worried about it, just look at the NWA shows. They have crowds that are probably lower than most of the caps for all the bands in the cities, and they've done a pretty good job putting on a show, and they've done a good job of getting good crowd interaction even with that. So running a studio style show can definitely work, and WWE has already shown that with SmackDown. So we'll see how it goes with Raw next week, and we'll see how AEW handles it when they do the Blood and Guts coming up. But then, after that, there's a big question.
Yeah, this is kind of what everybody's wondering right now, is what's going to happen with WrestleMania.
Yeah.
WrestleMania, the biggest show the WWE puts on, probably the biggest show in all of wrestling if you don't include Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes.
So...
And WrestleMania has never been canceled.
No.
It hasn't generally been postponed. So I don't know exactly how they're going to handle it. There's a couple of ways to do it. They could just wait it out, and we could find out that, the spread of this virus isn't as bad as it has been. We could find an inoculation within the next couple of weeks. There could be a lot of stuff that happens. That's one of the major issues with this. That's one of the things that makes it so scary, is we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is not like a hurricane that we could watch and kind of predict where it's going.
Mm-hmm. And then embrace, and then we know when it's going to happen, and then we can start building from it. This, we don't know when it's going to be over. We don't know when it's going to be at its height.
Yeah. So, worst case scenario, of course, they cancel it.
Right.
Middle case, they postpone it. Best case, in my opinion, they postpone it. I think that if they had to choose between those things, they'd probably postpone it, because WrestleMania is just not. I don't know how you get away with cancel. Well, you cancel it, but
No, they'd have to do it.
Will you make SummerSlam the new WrestleMania?
They would probably try to do it later in the month, or they would cancel the next pay-per-view, the following pay-per-view, and have WrestleMania the next month or something like that. That's what they would do if they were going to postpone it. And that's a good plan. I would be okay with that being, especially if Raw and SmackDown continue to go well as a studio-style show. I would be okay with them running a shorter card than they normally do for an empty arena.
Yeah. I'd be fine with that too. I mean, it feels odd because, we think about WrestleMania in large crowds, but on the other hand, we have complained, and many other fans have complained about the sheer unwieldiness of WrestleMania in recent years. It's a gigantic, almost bloated event that takes forever. So, right. I mean, whether by hook or crook, if they're forced to trim it down, that might actually result in better television, despite the fact that you might have some wrestlers missing out on their WrestleMania moment, which I feel for them.
Right. But, if there was ever a year to miss out on a WrestleMania moment, it might be the year where there's no crowd there.
It's true.
Because, part of the moment is the big reaction from the crowd and the big... over-the-top bits of it. And if there's no crowd, then, we'll have some big matches contested, and that's it. No one has done half measures yet. Everyone is either, it's canceled or postponed, or it's on. Like, Dana White had his most recent fight go. With crowds, with people... with his performers going, with his fighters fighting. And I don't blame him, because there's a void in our national entertainment slate. And someone who is willing to fill that void I wouldn't blame them, because we do need it. We do want it. We have a crazy amount. The normalcy of our lives has been challenged. So providing something to us that helps us retain some of our normalcy is of value. And if you talk to, your talent, your performers, and they are willing to risk potentially contracting anything from performing against other performers, then I'm all for it. At this point, it's probably best to not have crowds, but, it hasn't been mandated everywhere yet.
What was I gonna say?
Well, I don't know. I think the XFL, they shut down their games. They said they're still going to pay all the players what they would have been paid. And I thought that if the players were approached and said, "Listen, if you want to get more clips, for NFL, for that, we will still play the games. Everyone can opt out. If we don't end up with enough people who want to play the games, then we won't play the games. But if you're with the risk of potentially contracting something, then, they're already okay with the risk of potentially, paralyzing or killing themselves by playing football."
Well, I mean, I get that, but the idea behind this sort of quarantine and social distance is to prevent the spread from other vulnerable people.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, true, I go to an XFL game and oops, I get the coronavirus, so I have kind of like a little cold for a while, but in the 2 weeks before I even show symptoms, I might have gone and given it to my mom, my grandmother, the lady who works at the grocery store.
Right.
And then they go and they give it to somebody, and somebody gets real sick from it.
So I'll clarify. I am not like I am against having people like crowds at these places. I will not fight people wanting to put on sporting exhibitions, but I will fight people wanting to put humans there.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's still the individual sports right to do so in a lot of places, but most of the sports and most of the entertainment have come to the conclusion that they do need to quarantine, and it's probably the right answer.
Yeah. Because then you start getting into the weeds of like I believe a player in the NBA, I forgot which one. I think he played for the Utah Jazz.
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert. He tested positive for the
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus. And basketball is a close contact, sweating all over each other
Yep.
game. And so you give it to the other team, and they go home to their families. You give it to them. They go see their relatives. They give it to everybody. So
and the referees who work those games, might go to a different game, and that's the whole reason why the NBA just shut everything down. They said, "Listen, there's too many degrees of separation here, or there's not enough degrees of separation." Is actually how it should be said. We're just gonna shut it down, get everybody quarantined, get it out of there, and hopefully by the time we're done with the quarantine, something will have been figured, and if not, we'll play it by ear.
And what I find kind of interesting about wrestling in particular is these guys don't really go out across the nation and wrestle people who they're not constantly in close proximity with, relatively speaking. I think it might be easier to contain a viral spread if you have wrestlers wrestling, right? But I don't know. I mean, you could say the same thing for Broadway, right? You have the cast always performing with each other, but somebody comes to see the show, they cough on them, then somebody in the cast gets it, and then they go out and they give it to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and then you're fucked.
Yeah,
so,
the butcher, the blade, and the bunny. Yep, and that would be terrible if we lost them.
I am sympathetic to people yearning for entertainment. At the same time, we gotta have our priorities here, man. And we can go for like 2 months without this kind of stuff, if we remember reading Rainbow, take a look, it's in a book. Or you can watch The Connection Joe play what was he playing the other night? Car soccer. I forgot what it's called.
Rocket League.
Rocket League, thanks. Yes. You can watch Joe stream Rocket League.
But what you can also do is you can follow Twitter, and someone who has made some lemonade out of this situation is Hangman Adam Page, who released a press release about
lemonade.
No, go away with that.
I'm sorry. No,
lemon. Sorry. The phrase I was looking for is making a lemonade out of lemons. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade.
Go away with that. Sorry, I should know better. Apologies, everybody.
But you have his stationery, which has a horse at the top and some filigree, and Hangman in a special font, and then
that's his letterhead, right?
Yes, and you know what the letterhead says? It says, "Typed onto a piece of paper by an AEW errand boy at the drunken behest of Hangman Adam Page."
I hate to say this, but a friend of mine shared this, and they said kayfabe forever.
Yes.
Whenever they read it,
and it is brilliant. It's a great piece of kayfabe that still kind of kicks into the memes of reality. So it is a very well put together. It is a very well put together bit, and it has kayfabe in it, and then it also has actual seriousness in it. For instance, it laid out amid the current rapidly evolving COVID-19 situation, Hangman Adam Page wishes to inform you that he will be taking necessary precautions to ensure his continued health and safety, as well as the health and safety of fans across the globe. So there's a bunch of little things that he says he's going to do. Like, for the time being, we'll no longer accept beer from any fan should they be in attendance of events. He will be traveling with his own beverages to consume and looks forward to instances of conveniently appearing unopened beverages. He will be drinking exclusively drinking whiskey in hopes that the higher alcohol content will help him stave off potential infection.
Actually, the reverse happens, but okay.
In future wrestling exhibitions, Adam Hangman Page will be avoiding applying any wrestling holds that create close contact with opponents' faces. This includes maneuvers like the belly-to-belly suplex, the mandible claw, and the thing he did that time when Frankie Kazarian spit on him and then he licked it up and spit it back on him in an act of defiance.
Oh my fucking god.
In addition to these necessary actions, Hangman Adam Page would like to further encourage his fans to follow these proper precautions and practices. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after you have been in a public place. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands, and avoid public gatherings when possible. These are all real things, and the Mark and Smark Connection podcast also encourages you to do that over the course of the coronavirus situation.
Yes, be very vigilant in that you don't lick up the spit of your enemy and spit it back at them in defiance.
Well,
Or you were talking about the hand
I
washing.
was talking about the hand washing, yes.
Okay.
But, avoiding public gatherings where your enemy might be would help you avoid such a situation anyway.
You know what? That's good advice just in regular life.
I think
Stay away from your
I
enemies.
think we also are relatively in concert about this. Joe might not be, but yeah, buy a 6-pack of Corona beer. Honestly, they have nothing to do with this and did nothing wrong.
I think you've already done your part on that front, haven't you,
Yes,
Jesse?
I wanted to meme the crap out of Corona, but I realized that everyone's already thought of that.
No,
Um,
yeah, no. If you're gonna make a Corona beer joke or a toilet paper hoarding joke,
no, it's too late. The
yeah.
time has passed. We'll get there. We'll get back to it eventually.
Actually,
I was hoping that Corona would change some of their advertising to "It's not our fault."
no. Actually, things have come full circle because while people were sharing images of empty toilet paper aisles, like on Reddit and the like,
Hmm.
now they're sharing pictures of full toilet paper aisles
Hmm.
in places like Papua New Guinea, and they're like, "Oh, see, we're not panicking." So, okay.
Yeah, seriously. So that's the next practice that Adam Hangman Page would like to see encourage his fans to follow. He also would encourage them to apply your turn signal before turning or changing lanes. Consider the benefits of Medicare for All system in the U.S. Citizens could get care rapidly and without considerable cost to them should they begin to display symptoms of the coronavirus or any other malady, possibly preventing its effect and spread. And try ordering...
Hangman Adam Page must be a Bernie bro.
Yeah, try ordering pineapple as a topping on your next pizza. Honestly, I've changed my mind on this. It's badass. Make sure you put it in there.
Well, just open your mind, folks.
Yep.
Pineapple can go on pizza.
So-
Corn shouldn't and never should be on pizza, and I'll never change my mind about that. But open your mind about other things.
Yes, and follow the words of Adam Handwash Page, and do those things.
You know, and I've been thinking about this. Is it a wise move nowadays for John Cena to do that face wiping thing anymore?
What face wiping thing?
You know, where he like passes his hand in front of his face a bunch. I guess he's not touching, but he's got his hands close to his face.
He's not touching, and the towel that he would throw out to people, he doesn't actually touch himself with, except his hands. But obviously, that's the sort of thing that he wouldn't do if there were fans in attendance.
I should say this.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about it.
Yep.
Mankind, aka Mick Foley, sticking Socko over his hand to do the mandible claw.
Yep.
Pioneer of public health, right there.
A little bit better. You know, if it was sanitized and not in his crotch, it might have been a little more.
Are there mucous
worthy.
membranes down there?
I
don't think so.
Well,
if you know the answer, type it in the comments.
Yeah. So before we roll on out to our hot take, I just want to give you a couple of little things from the WWE website.
Okay.
It was International Women's Day recently, and that is women are one of the theme of March as a month in total. And WWE did its first ever no makeup photo shoot.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I saw some pictures from that. No makeup, but clearly plenty of filter. It's okay.
Right, but
even not filter, they had flattering lighting, all that other stuff. But not to be a naysayer. Okay.
It was well done. It looked and there were quite a few people who said that they were very apprehensive of it, and none of the women who posed in that should have been apprehensive at all. They're all very beautiful women, and they don't need makeup, but makeup can be helpful if you want it.
Yep.
So it's up to you. Choose what you want. It's a good photo shoot. It's good to read the thoughts about how people perceive their bodies and that sort of thing. Yeah. So if you I suggest a look at that and a read of that. And the other thing I suggest,
what?
There's a video of 316 Stone Cold Stunners. So in between binging all of our podcasts instead of watching other things that would have been happening,
whilst you're self-quarantined,
and watch almost 7 minutes of Stone Cold Stunners.
Yeah, do that.
And Matt, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So now it's time for the hot take. The hot take is one of the final segments of our shows. This is where we talk about anything related to wrestling, even if it's tangential. It could be that we saw a potato chip that looked like John Cena, a cloud that looked like Yokozuna, and we saw the Ultimate Warrior standing behind us in the reflection of our bathroom mirror, only to turn around and find that he wasn't there. So typically, we begin this segment by saying,
hot take. And I'm going to jump out here with mine right now. Mine is actually less tangentially related and very seriously related. Rob Gronkowski will be at SmackDown next week. Fox has been teasing this for about a week, and Mojo Rawley came on and confirmed that Rob Gronkowski will be there next week. It looks like he might be setting up towards an actual match coming up. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Rob Gronkowski is going to win the 24/7 championship on SmackDown on Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and say that. I'm looking forward to it, and I think this could be a big thing for Gronk to start gronking people all over the place.
Okay, hot take. Now it's my turn. In case you didn't know, you have the ability to link your Facebook to Spotify. Spotify will read your Facebook and try to suggest to you songs you might like. At least that's what I think it does. I've been talking about wrestling lately on my Facebook, and Spotify said, "Oh, you like wrestling? Well, then here, listen to Real American by Rick Derringer, which was the theme song for Hulk Hogan." And I like that song, and it takes me back, and I listened to it. I was like, "Oh, that was nice. Thank you, Spotify." And then a couple of songs later, it said, "Okay, here's Be a Man by Macho Man Randy Savage." And I was like, "What?" So this is from Macho Man's early 2000s rap album, which I knew it existed, and the concept of it was derided by many, and I was prepared to skip it. I was like, no, Spotify, you quit while you're ahead. But I gave it a chance, and I listened to it, and it wasn't disgraceful. It wasn't the worst rap song I've ever heard, certainly. It was actually a little bit better than I expected. I was like, huh, how nice. But I was going to skip any other song from that album.
Yeah, the big track was good enough. So let's just do a couple of cleanup things before we move into our 5 moves of doom and our finisher. The British Bulldog will be inducted into the Hall of Fame on his own merit.
Congratulations, Davey Boy Smith.
Congratulations to him. Were there any particularly juicy DDTs from Elimination Chamber that you remember?
Oh, yes, not at all.
Okay. It seemed like a very lackluster pay-per-view, and you normally do the DDT report, so I just wanted to make sure that there was no DDTs to report. No DDTs of note.
No. If there were DDTs of note, they were in the first 2 or 3 matches that I missed, and then the rest of them were like Elimination Chamber, and I was like...
Yeah, and Elimination Chamber is not a huge DDT fest. Occasionally they might do it on the steel grating on the outside.
They did not
But they did not, so...
They almost shoved several of the lady superstars' heads through the sort of like chain mesh they have in the Elimination Chamber. Mm-hmm. I was waiting for that to happen. There was a moment where Ruby Riott was being ground into those chains, and it looked like she was doing her best not to actually have her head go through. So, careful, dudes.
Yeah. All right. So that's where we are. Go ahead and take us home.
Okay, so the last segment is called the finishing move. This is a move that I come up with during the show on the fly based upon the things we've talked about. And the one this week is, you're going to love it, Jesse. This one is called Turn the Page and Wash Your Hands.
Yep. Go ahead, Filbert. Go, get it.
I came up with the name, but as far as the move goes...
You want me? I can take this. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
So what you're going to do is you're going to do, the spinning back fist.
Cool.
And that's the turning part. And then after that, you're going to do some small joint manipulation until they give up.
That's the wash your hands part.
Yeah, that's the hands part. Yep.
I'm glad you picked something that annoys me.
Rinse every one of their fingers until they give up.
Turn the page, wash your hands. Turn the page, wash your hands. Oh, that works. Turn the page, wash your hands.
Boom.
Break their fingers. Render them incapable of actually washing their own hands.
Correct. You're gonna have to soak your hands now from here on.
You know what, Jesse? From now on, I might just come up with a name, and I'll let you come up with a move.
Yes.
We'll see how
rather
it
than
works.
It's not like a variation on a DDT or a power bomb or something like that from here on out.
All right. Anyway, so That's it. You can tune in to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music Store, Google Play.
Yeah, iTunes, whatever it's called now.
Yeah, all those places. Mm-hmm. So, for Jesse Disbro, I am the Mark, Matt Cooper. We'll see you next time, everybody. Don't forget to wash your hands.
And like us on Facebook and Twitter at Mark and Smark.
I really need work on this, don't I?
Yes, but we're still recording now, so.
Oh, shit. Bye, everybody.